I would go for 20 no's a day. I would do 3 reels a day. I do at least 1 live a day. Okay. And I would, as far as for the content side, I would be using ILT, Invest, Learn, Teach. And that is where anything, as I learn things, I'm sharing them and teaching them. I would look at what's the most leveraged place for me to go. So if there's a company event in St. Louis, I'm going to be prospecting people in St. Louis. If there's a new country coming up, I may go to that. I may focus on marketing and prospecting to that new country. Or if there's like nothing on the horizon, there is no event coming up, there is no new country, then I'm going to focus on helping the person I used to be. So I would hunt out people in real estate and things like that, someone I have some commonality with, and that's who I would be prospecting. And so I would look at what are popular fan pages that people that are people I used to be, and I would go look in who's commenting, and that's who I would be messaging.
Welcome to MLM Nation, a podcast of leaders, by leaders, for leaders, hosted by Simon Chan. He's built a team of over 200,000 and is now a full-time MLM coach and trainer. So if you're ready to level up your business, join us now. Let's do this.
MLM Nation, this is Simon Chan. I'm fired up to bring our special guest today. We got the one and only Ray Higdon. Hey, Ray, are you ready to make it happen?
I'm ready.
Ray Higdon, the best-selling author of Time, Money, Freedom, helps network marketers reach new levels of hope, wealth, and impact through renewed perspectives. Ray reached the #1 income earner spot in a network marketing company prior to building a coaching and training business in which he has helped his students generate over 300,000 new customers, recruit over 70,000 new reps, and achieve over 14,000 rank advancements in just the past 5 years. Ray is also a top keynote speaker, has one of the top podcasts in our profession, and hosts one of the biggest training events in our profession. This is Ray's 4th time on MLM Nation. Previously, he appeared on episode 462, where he talked about leadership, episode 256, where he talked about branding. And we actually launched MLM Nation way back in 2015. Ray was episode number 3. And I knew at that time I needed to get a big name. I had to get Ray on. So anyway, Ray, I think everyone's known about you. For those who don't, and they should, take us back to your story, because your story is very inspirational, how you basically went from struggling and bankrupt to where you are right now.
Yeah. And thanks for having me a 4th time. I didn't realize it was 4. So I left a high-paying, corporate job 18 years ago now, and that was April. So 18 years as of April, and last job I ever had. And I didn't jump into network marketing right away. I was doing real estate, and real estate was doing really well. And then when the market changed in 2008 and 2009, I got completely wiped out. And so, what does that mean? Well, that means I lost everything. I was $1 million in debt. I went through a divorce, and I was very deeply depressed. And so didn't know what I was going to do. A friend of mine asked me to come to this home meeting where he had an opportunity. And I knew what that was. And I had actually tried network marketing in the past, but I just didn't go into it with the right mindset. And I had sworn off of it. But here I was, broke, depressed, and I didn't know how I was going to make money because no one was hiring. Everyone was affected by the market. And so I go to that meeting and I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to make this thing work. I'm going to figure this thing out. And it was, 5 months in, 10,000 a month, 7 months, 40,000, 10 months, 50,000 a month. And, did millions with that company, what became the #1 earner of that company. And without us really meaning to, and I say us because I got remarried in 2011, without us really meaning to, we started having a lot of people outside of our team ask us to train them on what we were doing, because we were using social media way back in 2009. And so we started doing that. I started getting asked to speak at different events, people started asking me to coach them. And so we started a coaching company. And in 2016, decided to retire from actively building any team and focus solely on coaching. And that's what we've been doing ever since.
So you said you had done network marketing and you didn't have much success, and then you decided to figure it out. So what are some of the things you figured out that worked?
Me, like most people who've been in sales, is in the beginning, like I thought it was about, well, I'm better than that video. I'm better than that presentation. I can do it better. And so it was taking the traditional business owner slash salesperson approach of it's just about my skills, right? I didn't understand how to lean on a system. I didn't understand how to lean on something that wasn't just my charisma, personality, skill set, et cetera. And so in the beginning, I actually got a lot of recruits. I recruited a lot of people and was good at that, but my duplication really stunk, and I just didn't understand it. I did a lot of non-duplicatable things, didn't understand systems and processes and all those different things. And so those are, some of the things I learned. Like, one of the things I learned from, Larry Thompson was the Thompson rule, we call it. I don't even think he calls it that, but we call it the Thompson rule. And that's 80, 15, and 5, that 80% of the people in your organization, they just don't have a high desire for making a lot of money. And that's okay. That's actually their desire. And so understanding that, you can create a very different culture for most people. And so, yeah, it was mainly learning culture, leadership, and duplication.
So for the 80% that are not interested, really, well, they say they're interested in making money, but they're not really. How do you keep them still engaged so they become more like followers and customers and don't quit?
So your number one way is not to turn them off. And unfortunately, most leaders, they don't understand this. And so they think their job is to get everyone else foaming at the mouth like they are. And so they'll say things like, man, I want it more for you than you want it, which is it makes you feel like a disappointment. People will not pay for a relationship where they feel like a disappointment, right? They may have got that from their parents. They may have got that from their spouse, but they ain't going to pay for it. And so as soon as they feel like they're disappointing you, they will leave. They will check out, even if they like the product. And so the number one key is to not turn them off. So if you understand that, then you start your trainings with, hey, if you're here and you're wanting to grow a big old business, then awesome, this is for you. And by the way, if you're here and you're just enjoying the products and the people, we love you. We appreciate you. Feel free to check this out if you want, but it is mainly for people that want to build a business. So it's not you shoving it down their throat and saying what's wrong with them. And so I remember a conference call where I was on and I said, hey, if you're not prospecting 10 people a day, what's wrong with you? And all my 5%ers, those who want to make $25,000 or more a month, 5% of the entire team, they were like, yeah, man, that was fire, bro. And then all kinds of other people, because there's way more people that aren't that motivated than are, a bunch of people left. And so the concept is it's about longevity, not intensity. And so the longer you keep them around the campfire, the more likely they'll catch a spark. And so there are people that experience that during the pandemic. All of a sudden, people who weren't interested in building a business all of a sudden became very interested. And if you had a good culture that didn't make them feel like a disappointment, they probably activated in your team. And so if you are intensely trying to get a check in their hands as quickly as possible, regardless of understanding their level of desire, you're going to chase more people off than you're going to turn on.
You've been in the profession for 18 years, 17 years, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, my first company, I don't know if I'd call it in the profession, but my first company was in 2006. But when I really got in the profession, I would say is 2009.
So let's talk about just the last 5 years, because you speak a lot of company stages and work with a lot of top leaders. How has the profession changed?
So, I mean, the most significant, I'll say, issue that came up in just the last few years, there's been an abandonment of the core kind of fundamental skills, and so for example, I teach people at any skill level how to cold message and get results. That is a message that influencers don't like because they don't need to do it. And so they bash that, which is cutting off the heads of a lot of people in their team. And so, two quick and easy examples. We have a student, Christina Danielle. She used, and she'll tell you this. She used my scripts verbatim. She became the number one recruiter in her company, beating out all the other influencers, everyone else in the company. And she's been the number one recruiter in her company for 3 years straight. All cold messaging, no branding, no videos, no nothing. And the interesting thing about her is she's in a pet food company, doesn't have a pet.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, we had a client, and she may have been in when you were in, but Jennifer Welshin was in our mastermind, and she wanted to hit this big bonus in her company. And she said, Ray, what should I do? And I said, you need to get more eyeballs, and you're not generating enough leads with your videos. And so I walked her through exactly what to do and how to follow up. And she hit a $220,000 bonus by cold messaging. Now, that doesn't mean that I think cold messaging is the greatest thing ever, but it's an option for a lot of people that don't want to brand or don't want to do videos. I'm not saying that all influencers should do it. You shouldn't. In fact, when I started generating leads, I went away from it. But the fact that so many people bash it is just ignorance. And so here's exactly what happened. During the pandemic, you had a rush of people, whether they were skilled or not, all of a sudden their teams grew. Because everyone's like, I need to make money from home because who knows how long this COVID thing is going to, be going down. And so a lot of people piled into the network marketing company, whether you were a great leader, whether you were terrible, whether you were skilled, whether you weren't, whether you had a great system or whether you didn't. And so a lot of people got maybe a little lazy. Right. And they had this experience of this increase in checks, and they're like, yeah, baby, their videos went viral and all these different things. And they started relying on non-fundamentals. They started relying on the marketplace dictating it and the viral videos dictating it, whereas those aren't things you actually control. They got away from teaching prospecting, follow up, just the simple stuff. And so a lot of people got really frustrated when all those people that came in didn't find a system, didn't get motivated or inspired, were pushed instead of collaborated with and good culture. When they left, all of a sudden they scrambled, and a lot of them joined different companies. And so there's been an abandonment across the board in, I don't want to say every company, but there's a very large black hole of people only shooting for viral videos. They're hoping for leads. And listen, I've done a lot of those and I've been blessed by a lot of those, but that's not the fundamentals. The fundamentals is, reaching out to people, following up, warm market, cold market, right? Doing marketing, hoping for leads. And if you don't have those leads, you need to do prospecting, but a lot of people are missing that.
I want you to clarify a little bit. So cold messaging doesn't just mean like not putting out content. You just randomly reach people, right? I mean, when you define influencer marketing versus cold message, are you talking about influencer marketing? I just create a video and I don't do anything, just waiting for people to come to me. Is that your definition of when you said influencer marketing?
So influencer marketing, I haven't really talked about. That would be kind of a separate thing, but it really boils down to two things: prospecting, marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing is passive. I do something, I hope someone responds to it, right? I put a video, podcast, blog post, flyer in the local, coffee shop. That's all marketing. That's hoping that someone sees it. Prospecting is active, and it's you reaching out to an individual. So prospecting could be warm market people, cold market people you don't know. And so prospecting is reaching out to an individual, having a conversation, asking them if they're open and taking a look at what you're doing. And so that's what I mean by that. That's the difference. Now, there's all kinds of different marketing, but it's passive. You're hoping someone sees it. You're hoping the algorithm works. You're hoping someone reacts to it, and you can't control that.
Yeah, thank you. Because I know when you said people against cold messaging, you still got to do marketing that will help you out with your cold messaging, correct?
It's have to. Have to is a strong word. If I had to pick a have to, if I could only do one, then prospecting will get you to the top of your company. Marketing is not guaranteed. You kind of hope that it takes off. You hope that the algorithm works, et cetera and so forth. Now, does that mean I'm anti-marketing? I love marketing. Marketing is my favorite mode of operation for sure, but you can't dictate it. It's a little different than prospecting. You reaching out to people, you're going to get a certain number of no's. You're going to get a certain number of yeses. That's just how it works. I know people that have been marketing for 2 years that have yet to recruit anybody. And it's because they can't control what happens. And they maybe haven't gotten better at video or whatever, but you can't control that. You won't meet someone that prospected someone every day for 2 years that hasn't had a sale. You just won't meet them.
But you had mentioned Christina Danielle, where you coached her to become the #1 recruiter. So I guess without giving the specific details of her company and stuff like that, but what did you actually teach her to do using Cold Messenger to help her get to the top?
Real simple. Same thing. She just listened. Same thing I teach everybody, really. And that is when you reach out to someone, cold message. And number one, my cold message approach is not for other network marketers. So if you use this approach, I'm just going to let you know, network marketers are cannibalistic in nature. They're going to shout you out. They're going to call you a name. They're going to be negative to you. So you need to use this on people that are not in network marketing, or at least do your best to try not to prospect another network marketer, because it won't work for them. And so there's 2 methods, one that I like and one that I do not, of doing cold messaging. There's the tiptoe through the tulips, build rapport forever method, which a lot of people are comfortable teaching because it sounds good. But the problem is, one, it's disingenuous. So you're sending these messages. Hey, I really like your hair today. Hey, is that a Bernie doodle? Hey, tell me your grandma's recipe, right? There's that nonsense. And if it's a stranger, if it's a true cold message, you're like, yep, it's Apple. Yep, he's cute, right? You're like, what do you want? So it leaves the recipient with, what is this person after? Like, are they stalking me? Are they out in my bushes? And it creates this disingenuous thing where you're kind of waiting for, okay, when they're going to pop the question. Then when they do, they're like, no, thanks. I've asked so many different audiences, hey, what do you prefer? If someone reaches out to you that you don't know, do you prefer that they A, give you a nice compliment, or B, just get to the point? I've yet to meet someone say, no, I'd rather them compliment me first. Everyone just prefers, hey, if you're going to reach out to me, fine. Tell me what you're up to. I'm busy. We got things going on, right? You don't need to compliment me. We don't need to do all this stuff. Just tell me what's going on. And I may like it. I may not. That's fine. And so it's just like in our book, Go for No for Network Marketing, they talk about, so many different scenarios. But one of the scenarios that Go for No talks about is the insurance company that went from giving a big, pitch to they just started going door to door and saying, hey, you're not looking for insurance, are you? Their sales increased like 4-fold. And so that's part of the point is that it's very like the person that's going to do cold messaging is not good at building rapport, because if they were, they wouldn't need to do cold messaging. And so we just prefer to get to the point. Now that hopefully we're there, then what do you say? Very simple. You say what's on their mind, right? They want to know, why are you reaching out to them? Do I know you? What do you want, right? And why me? And most people never answer that question, why me, if they answer all the other ones. And so a very simple, script, which I'll give you a kind of an updated thing here, but a very simple script, and what Christina used and many others have used is, hey, I know we don't know each other. I see that you're a waitress. I help waitresses make extra money on the side. Is that something you'd be open to taking a look at? If not, no big deal. And so we'll either go by occupation or location. Hey, I know we don't know each other. I see that you're in Dallas, Texas. I'm looking to expand my business in Dallas. Would that be something you'd be open to taking a look at, making extra money on the side? Let me know if you're open to it. Great. If not, no big deal. Now, if you really, truly think about it, outside of a network marketer, because a network marketer is going to be offended by that, right? Because they're just cannibalistic. But outside of, if we revert ourselves back in time to where we were regular humans before we understood network marketing, if someone said to you, are you open to taking a look at something? And if you're not, it's totally okay. Are you offended? No one's offended. And so people will blankly say, oh, cold messaging is spam. I've had to actually define this for people. Spam is assuming the position of the prospect without any evidence. That's what spam is. So spam is join my link. Spam is buy my product. Spam is we got a BOGO going. Here you go. When you don't even know if they're interested at all. You finding out, this is like the guy walking up to the girl at the hotel bar and saying, hey, are you here with anyone? Can I buy you a drink? Okay, that's not spam. He's just surveying the situation. He's finding out, right? But if he went up to her and said, hey, I got a room upstairs. Okay, that's spam. That's assuming. I'm not saying it never works, but it's assuming, right? It's assuming a willingness to something. That's you sending your join me now link. So in that initial message, you're not sending any links. Right now, because of Instagram spam, because of true spam from Instagram, I would suggest that if you can test that script. But what may work even better for you, which I used to be against, but now with how much Instagram spam you get, using an audio clip. So saying roughly the same thing, including their name. Hey, Simon, I see that you're a podcaster in California. I happen to help podcasters make extra money on the side. Is that something you'd be open to take a look at? And if not, totally cool. Love your show. Appreciate it. No one's offended by that ever. And so, I would suggest that you test it out, right? You test it out with audio. You can test it out with text, but we have, some students that have been getting some great results with both.
That's fantastic advice there with audio. Thank you, Ray. Shifting topics a little bit. I've been very inspired by your transformation of faith, right? And actually been secretly, I think the last time I had you on the podcast, I said that was me praying for you and Jessica the whole time, because Jesus Christ is very important to me. So, and then we'll talk about the event as well, but talk faith over fear. But how did you be so bold with your faith? Because I know a lot of our listeners here are also saved. How did you become from when I first met you, you weren't, to where you are right now?
Yeah. How much? How much?
Well, you can talk like hours about this, right?
So your question was, how did I become so bold with my faith?
What happened? How did you become saved to begin with?
Okay. All right. So that's a different question. Okay. So so my wife was a speaker in Nashville at this women's event, our friend Kimberly Olson. And so she, my wife was speaking, she comes back and she said, and first, just to preface this, 2019, our company is just crushing it. I speak on Grant Cardone's stage. I speak on Russell Brunson's stage. I'm just nailing all the financial goals, putting in all kinds of investments. I mean, it's just wild, rocking it. But I knew something was missing. And so I started this journey of just like, hey, there's something missing, because none of these goals that I'm setting and hitting are making me feel any different. I had my first $1 million year 10 years ago, my first $1 million month 9 years ago, my first $1 million day 8 years ago. And none of that made me feel any significantly different, right? I appreciated it. It was great, but it was like on to the next thing. And so the last, 3.5 years, I've been searching. And so, I did a lot. I tried a lot of different new age things. I did meditation, 1 to 3 hours a day for 2 years straight without missing a day. Tamed the body. It was very helpful, actually. Tame the body, tame the mind, but still something was missing. And so Jess goes to this event. She comes back and she says, hey, you gotta talk to this guy. And I'm like, okay. And so we get on this Zoom, and first minute of the Zoom, he says, I see a big vision for you and God. I'm like, okay. All right. What are you selling me, preacher man? I thought he had a Christian MLM or something, or a Christian mastermind or something. And because I didn't grow up in the church. In fact, I only went to church for a couple months of my life when I was 19 years old after a failed suicide attempt. Right. That's all I had. And so I didn't know any verses. I didn't know John 3:16. I mean, I'd heard of it, but I didn't know what it was. Didn't know what it meant. Nothing. And so he says, I see a big vision for you and God. And we stay on that Zoom for probably 90 minutes, and nothing he said made any sense at all, but it felt true. But I didn't know what to do. And so I get off that, and I'm just like, I asked my wife, because she wasn't like religious or anything or of faith at that point. And I said, hey, why did you have me meet with him? And she goes, oh, he had some issues with his dad and he's built some businesses. So she had no idea what we were going to talk about. It went very differently. The next day, Jess and I, my wife, Jess and I are at a networking meeting. And I walk in, and there's this guy there that I've seen before, didn't remember his name, didn't remember what he did. And he comes over to me and he says verbatim, I see a big vision for you and God. And I'm like, what is happening? Because these guys don't know each other. One's in Miami, one's in Naples. And he puts his arms on me and he goes, we need to pray. And so he's a pastor. I didn't know that at the time. He starts praying over me, and I just start bawling. And I'm in the middle of this networking event. People are walking this. I kind of open my eyes, and people are walking this way, this way, this way, this way. No one noticed. No one turned and said, "You okay, man?" No one said a word. It was like God put a shield around us or something, because no one saw anything. No one said anything. And I'll fast forward, some of this story. But I re-meet up. He comes to my house. I re-meet up with that original guy, and he brings over, another man of faith, and I get baptized. And so nothing. I didn't have anything like woo. I didn't have any like miracle, dancing in the air, or speaking in tongues, or anything like that, happen at the time. But the next morning, there were a few things that happened. But the next morning, I wake up and I'm different. I mean, I'm looking at my hands. I'm looking at the flowers outside. I'm looking at the sunrise, and I'm different. And I get this overwhelming feeling that I need to trust God right now. And so I get down on my hands and knees. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pray, right, at that point. And that was seven and a half months ago. And so I get on my hands and knees and I say, God, I'm going to trust you. I turn my business over to you. I turn my life over to you. If you want me to close the business down, I will. If you want me on the road with a robe, I'll do that. And because I just didn't know. I didn't know what do I even say to him? Like, whatever. I had all these hangups and I didn't feel worthy. Why? I'm not worthy. And I just got, just the overwhelming feeling to go live that day. I go live with my apology to God, which quite a few people have seen. I had probably well over 1,000 people message me from that video. And I've been going live 6 days a week talking about my walk in faith. I'm in scripture every single day. I have 2 different Bible mentors. I'm in a sermon leadership mentor or group. I'm going to Israel in October. Like, I'm all in. And so what I've very clearly been told is I'm to stay away from actual ministry, and I'm to impact the marketplace. And it's very tempting to me, because literally my number one love is scripture. I just love it. I used to not be able to read one verse. Like, I'd read it and be like, oh man, I'm so tired, right? And if I'm on a plane, I will read for hours. I mean, it's like a comic book to me. I just love it so much. But God twice has told me, you're to impact the marketplace. Stick to the marketplace. Don't be just leading with salvation and leading with just scripture by itself. You need to focus on the marketplace. And so that's been my lane the last few months. And and that's what led to us changing the name of our event.
Yeah, I remember I was getting messages. Some of my leaders who are Christians. Hey, did you see what happened to Ray Higdon? What happened to Ray Higdon? They'll message me that day. So, dealing with because you come from a secular background, did you ever face the thing that, never talk about religion in your business, or the consequences of what's going to happen? And how did you go? What was the self-talk, and how did you overcome that?
I just trusted God. I'm just obedient. I mean, he's given me some wild instructions. He's had me pray for strangers. He's had me do things that just didn't make any sense at all. And so I'm just being obedient. And so it's, faith. A lot of people, I thought I knew what faith meant. I thought faith was like, just a mindset. It'll work out. Right. It's very specific. If you look at, James 2 does a great job of breaking down faith, and so does Hebrews 12. And faith is a way of being. So the way that you spell faith is R-I-S-K. Faith is risk. Faith is when Peter stepped out on the water. That was risk. Faith was when Abraham raised the knife. That was faith. And so faith is a way of being. That is not a mindset, because, even the devil believes in God, right? So that's not very special to just believe, right? So faith is a way of being. Fear is also a way of being, right? So you have faith if you are addressing every situation in your life that you do not like, and you're actually moving into realms of uncertainty to try to alter them. You know you're in fear if you're not doing that. So if you're in a career that you absolutely hate, but you just can't leave because it pays so well, you live in fear. You do not have faith. Faith is, I trust in source. I trust in God that whatever I do, it is for my good. And if I make this leap, God's got my back. He's going to have me. He's my source, not money, but him. And so faith is a way of being, and it is what most people lack. They're just not willing to risk. They're not willing to step out of the boat, right? Everyone talks about Peter sinking, like, knucklehead, loser, right? What about the 11 that stayed on the boat? They didn't have faith, right? Jesus says, hey, come to me. Why don't you jump out there, right? That would be faith, and Peter displayed that.
So talk a little bit about your event. What's this event about? It's I know it's a network marketing event, Faith Over Fear in October. Share a little bit about this.
Yeah, so it's Faith Over Fear Business Summit. So it is not a revival. It is a business summit. And we have pulled together some of the absolute top minds in the world, some of the top network marketers. I mean, I think we have 3 people that are doing over $1 million a month in their company. But we have the best of the best of the best that are going to share with you exactly what's working on social media, what is working right now in their teams and running contests and leadership. And I am unchaining them. I'm unchaining them to share how do they mix faith into their business. And so now that I've taught using scripture and mixed into business, I can't undo that. I now can't teach in I'm not allowed to use any kind of scripture kind of way. But the scripture gives people a better infrastructure and a better base of understanding and acknowledgement so that they move forward better in faith. And so we got the very best strategic rock stars in the world in our profession, and some outside. For example, one that some people may or may not know is Pastor Baker out of Ohio. Pastor Baker did an 18-part series on God and finances, and over 25% of his congregation became debt-free. This guy is brilliant, and he knows the Bible. I hear him say stuff. I'm like, dang. It's just amazing. And so, but I've unchained these speakers because, sometimes they're at an event where they're not allowed to share, right? Or they're told, hey, if you say the word God, you better mix in the word universe. And I used to think, oh, what's wrong with that? Well, the problem is it's tough to have a relationship with the cosmos, right? When you have a heavenly Father, you can imagine that relationship. And so we have the best strategic rock stars on the planet. They're going to teach you exactly what's working right now in their teams, what's working right now for all their teams and the leaderboards, what's working on social media. You're going to get all of that, but you're also going to get some really, really powerful scripture so that you get over any kind and you eradicate any kind of issue you have with prosperity. Ecclesiastes 9:16 tells us the poor man's wisdom is despised. The poor man's wisdom is despised. But a lot of Christians, they fall into this trap of thinking there's virtue in poverty when there isn't. That's not the key. Is it's okay for you to have money. It's not okay for money to have you. That's the difference, right? So like your shirt, purpose, right? What is salt without a saltiness? Well, saltiness is its purpose, right? So man without purpose is lost. He's confused. He's seeking acceptance from the world through money and significance or status or whatever. And so how do you actually take your purpose and create a meaningful and powerful and just majorly cash flowing business so that you can do more good for the world? Because with more money, you can do more good. Now, that doesn't mean if you don't have any that you can't do any good, but you could do more if you got more. And so we want to teach those concepts and really help people with that.
That's awesome. And MLM Nation, I'm going to put the link to that event in the show notes page. So definitely go check it out. And I plan to be there as well. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Hey, Ray, you've been awesome. Thank you so much. As we go to the end of the show, some quick questions to pick your brain. Okay, these can be quick one-liners.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is, what is one of your favorite success quotes that motivates you?
Favorite success quotes that motivates me. I mean, I do like, and it's biblical. It's out of Proverbs, but Tony Robbins says, you don't suffer from a lack of resources, you suffer from a lack of resourcefulness. And resourcefulness is also wisdom.
What is one habit that's helped you become successful?
Consistency isn't a habit, it's more of a trait. So a habit, I would say, is planning out. Like there's a proverb that talks about prepare your outside. And what that actually means is for you to prepare how what you are doing is going to impact and help others. And so a lot of people, they'll actually sabotage themselves because they think it's selfish for them to go after money. Well, think about how will you be helping people with your product, service, opportunity, or with your own money.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Honestly, I think the best piece, and this was recent, was just my pastor helping me with understanding that I'm not my savior. Like for most of my life, I thought if it's going to be, it's up to me. Well, I'm not the savior. I'm not the hero. Jesus is. And so to understand that I can't earn salvation, that's grace, right? That's grace, a gift that I didn't deserve. And so that to me, it really changed the game for me because I was really chasing works up to then because I just didn't think I was doing enough. And so that was really helpful for me.
What prospecting tool do you recommend your coaching members to use?
Like a software or tool?
Or like do you recommend to do Zoom? Do you company video? If so, what length? Or create a personal video? What's a good tool?
Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of company video. But one thing that we offer is we have our 90-day journals. And the reason I like these is I think a lot of electronic leads just get lost with most people. The cool thing about this is if you fill them out, you put them on your bookshelf, and then when you have a contest, you go back to them and follow up with a whole bunch of people that you'd forgotten about if you hadn't written them down. And so that'll be my tip.
What's your favorite app on your phone that's not a social media app?
Oh man, Voxer. I Voxer all my clients, and my entire company is on Voxer. I know everyone likes Telegram more, but to me, Voxer is just simpler, and I like it.
Aside from the Bible and your books that you've written, in the last year, what are the top 2 or 3 books you've read?
I would say Gospel by J.D. Greer. Anointed for Business by I don't know if I can say his name, Ed Silvery something. I forget his name. And you know what? I want to give him a shout out. I really liked Richard Brooks' Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire. I thought that was a great book. And I didn't know what I expected, but I went through it and I'm like, this is a great book. And I reached out to him and I told him that.
That's awesome. I still remember when I was reading that book, Mach 2.
Yeah.
And here's the last question, the $1 million question. You ready? Imagine you had to build a network marketing business and you had to start all over, but you knew no one. You didn't even know your kids, didn't know your wife, Jess. Your contact list was 0, but you had all your current knowledge, skills, and wisdom. What's the first thing you do or the first place you go to find prospects and build a network marketing business from scratch?
One, I would devise a routine, and it would be 20 no's a day. It would be 3 reels a day. And for me, it would also be a live a day. Not that most people won't duplicate any of those things. Maybe the 3 reels they will, but I would go for 20 no's a day. I would do 3 reels a day. I do at least 1 live a day. Okay. And I would, as far as for the content side, I would be using ILT, Invest, Learn, Teach, which is a concept I've taught for 10 years. And that is where anything, as I learn things, I'm sharing them and teaching them. As far as where I would go, I would set up, first, your reels should be, you need to set up, TikTok, Instagram reels, Facebook reels, and YouTube shorts. So I would be uploading those 3 to those 4 places. As far as the lives, I would be going live. So I go live every single day on TikTok, Instagram Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, probably somewhere else. And so that's kind of the foundation. As far as where I would find my no's from, it'd be a combination of offline, going to networking events and charity events, and online, probably more either Facebook or Instagram is where I would kind of play.
Where would you go specifically on Facebook and Instagram?
Where would I go?
Yeah,
I would look at what's the most leveraged place for me to go. So if there's a company event in St. Louis, I'm going to be prospecting people in St. Louis. If there's a new country coming up, I may go to that. I may focus on marketing and prospecting to that new country, if that makes sense. Or if there's like nothing on the horizon, there is no event coming up, there is no new country, then I'm going to focus on helping the person I used to be. So I would hunt out, people in real estate and things like that, someone I have some commonality with, and that's who I would be prospecting. And so I would look at what are popular fan pages that people that are people I used to be, and I would go look in who's commenting, and that's who I would be messaging.
Awesome nuggets there. Hey, Ray, you've been amazing. As we wrap up, any last words of advice? And then what's the best way our listeners can connect with you?
Yeah, you can connect with me all over, social media at Ray Higdon on most things. And I do 6 days a week. I do a Walk in Faith Live where I talk about scripture and my walk. And as far as advice, it's one. I'll center it around consistency, because I know that you like talking about consistency. So if you are super consistent, then I would just check what's your source. What's your source? Because when I'm a very consistent dude. So a lot of people who are very, very consistent, they become hustlers, grinders, they grind it out, they work really hard, and net worth is their source. Money is their source. Cash flow is their source. That's what gives them their identity, significance, status, security, safety, etc. And I would just challenge you that, you'll never have enough of that if it's your source. Money is a resource. God is the source. And if you can start leaning on God as your source, then everything else is awesome. Now, if you're inconsistent, that means that you've drawn the wrong conclusion to success based on an observation you made as a kid. So maybe you saw that your parents were successful and they ignored you, or maybe you saw your parents succeed and then they lost it, but you have drawn an improper conclusion to success, and that is why you are not consistent. Maybe you had siblings and you were the good sister, and the parents said, hey, why can't you be more like your sister? So you drew the conclusion that any spotlight that shines on you harms others. And just understand, your inconsistency is actually from your past. And so you can, with awareness and energy, you can change that, and you can turn that over to God as well. You can actually ask God to help you heal those wounds and step more into His grace. And you can help that, but you need to know what the problem is. If you're inconsistent, it's not because you don't know what to do. It's like someone that is, extremely overweight. They know, eat less, work out more, they'll lose weight. Right? But there's some other conclusion that is driving you. There is an identity piece that you have that keeps you in that situation.
Hey, MLM Nation, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And today you may hang out with the legend, Ray Higdon. So keep up the momentum and go to MLMNation.com. Click on the podcast tab in the show notes with the links to Ray's books, his profiles. Definitely follow him, connect with him. We'll be right there. Hey, in order to be successful in life, in business, and network marketing, you must help others. So, Ray, thanks again for sharing your valuable time with MLM Nation. We're grateful to you, and we appreciate you for having a positive impact on millions of distributors worldwide. Thanks again. God bless you. Hey, MLM Nation, Simon Chan here with a recap of a great show from Ray Higdon. Awesome stuff. This is the fourth episode we've had him on here, and just to take you a little back in time, back in 2015, I knew I needed to launch MLM Nation. If you don't know who Ray Higdon is, you definitely need to know him. When I launched MLM Nation in 2015, I knew we needed to launch with big names. So it wasn't that he was number 3, he was the third best, but it was in that order. We had number 1, Danny Johnson, number 2, Big Al, number 3, Ray Higdon. And so super grateful for Ray launching. If you go back to the episode, it's in the Archives podcast, episode number 3. I know that seemed like I was over 8.5 years ago almost. I was terrible. I was so nervous interviewing Ray. This before I became friends with him, got to know him. Actually, no, this was, yes, before I became friends with him, really got to know him. And I was really, really nervous there, but we had him on the show. And we launched MLM Nation with Ray Higdon, episode number 3. So this episode, I know Ray has talked a lot about stuff about co-messaging, influencer marketing. I love how he's very straight, no nonsense, and talk about what you need to do and how, at the end of the day, we can't move away from the fundamentals, right? The fundamentals are really, really important. Learning how to co-messaging, not building that rapport, not like doing that fake rapport. Instead, going out there. People always have these doubts when we reach out to them. Who are you? What the heck do you want? Where do I know you from? And why me? And, talked about building the commonality to tie the connection in and then reach out to that person. And spam, I like how you define spam. Spam is when you assume people are a prospect, like sending that link. That's spam. When you reach out to people and say, hey, you want to earn some extra money? That's not spam. Think about it. Now, network marketers, I like how you differentiate. They may think that's spam, but if you are not in network marketing and you ask their friend, hey, I got a job that I got something for that you can allow you to earn an extra $500, would they consider that spam? If you send a message to a friend right now, hey, I got something that will allow you to earn extra $500. I may need your help, right? Would they consider that spam? They wouldn't consider that spam, right? If you go directly like that. Now, if you're sending them all that info before they say yes, now my friend said no, but you still send the info, that's spam, right? Unsolicited video links, that's spam. But if you're asking first for permission, that is not spam. So work on those fundamentals, the follow-up, change the skills. Are you expecting people just to create a viral, and you talked about marketing and prospecting. Marketing is creating the content. Yes, you need to create the content, the Instagram reels, post it on social media, do live videos. Yes, but you still need to reach out to people. You just can't, I'm going to create content, sit back and wait for people to come and join. That never happens, right? You got to go out to create content. You also need to prospect as well. Also, let's talk about the Thompson rule, right? Shout out to Larry Thompson, who we also had on MLM Nation with the legends in network marketing. 80% of your downlines are not going to do much. And this was a mistake I wish I knew. I used to come on, you got to do this. You got to work out in the DMO or you're no good. No, but most people are not. They want to be successful, but they know they can't because of a lot of different things, reasons. And if you make them feel bad, then they're going to leave. So learn to love on people and longevity over intensity. I love that because as long as you keep people long enough, eventually they'll bring a customer. They may even get a sign up or something changes in their lives and now they can go full force into your business. But you turn them off by making them feel bad and take away any fulfillment, they are definitely going to leave. Last thing I want to share, there's a lot of nuggets here. I love how you shared about his faith. And because I could tell that money doesn't make you happy, right? I just leave it like that. Now, there's a source to that happiness. He talks about if money allows you to serve more people or do some things, yes. But if you're just chasing money, there's a lot of people who are very wealthy, very unhappy in this world, right? So it's the source that makes it important. And last thing is talk about faith over fear. Faith is risk. When you have faith in your business, there is risk, right? And faith is a state of being someone. If you have faith, you're going to stay consistent. You are going to show up. If you lack faith or you have fear, this may not work out, I'm going to get rejection, that prevents you from being consistent, right? Think about this. If you know that 10 people that you're going to follow up with today are definitely going to sign up and join, what would you do? You go out there, reach out to them, right? Because you have the faith. But if you have the fear, I can't do this, I'm not going to be able to train them, or they're going to say no to me, then you're going to lack that consistency, right? If you have faith that, hey, whatever content I put out, people want to hear from me, then you're going to stay consistent. If you have fear that, oh my goodness, people are going to laugh at me, no one's going to comment on my reels, it's going to be a ghost town, then you're going to be paralyzed and not take any action. So great stuff there by Ray Higdon. Definitely go follow him. Go to MLMNation.com. And I'm really interested in your feedback on this episode. Reach out to me. But go follow him first. Go to the show notes page or the links to his profile. They're there. And then, hey, these episodes are not free. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube channel. Okay, and also subscribe on your favorite podcast channel. That means a lot. Give us feedback. Whether I know this episode was a little bit different, but let me know whether you like it or not. And thanks again to Ray Higdon for sharing his valuable time and wisdom with us. Hey, I'm Simon Chan. I'm loud and proud to be part of this amazing profession. Now it's over to you. Apply what you learn and go out there and have a positive impact on someone's life. God bless you all.